Okay, just to be clear, and it's obvious, obviously, to just about everybody, but an atheist is a person who believes there is no God. An agnostic believes that nothing is known or can be known about the existence or nature of God. Why is that a less rational position than yours?
Sorry, I just jumped like a pea on a hot shovel because I'd meant to say this when you said about Stephen calling himself an agnostic. I would have been if I'd been around, and I still am, a great admirer of Thomas Huxley, the man who is I think, uncle of Aldous and Julian, who he was known as Darwin's bulldog. He had the great debate on Darwin at the Natural History Museum in Oxford with Bishop Wilberforce, known as Soapy Sam to his parishioners, who was a descendant of the great William. And Huxley creamed him on that occasion, as everyone remembers. It was a walkover for our team. And so we're all very grateful to Thomas Huxley, but I can't thank him for his coinage of the term agnostic, which was his bolt whole term. Again, to try for a compromise where I don't really think the basis for it exists. So you don't have to say you don't believe in God. You can simply say not all the returns, not all the evidence are or is in yet, so I won't declare. Now, I think that that's wrong twice. One, you're not saying that you cannot prove that there is no God. No atheist has ever said that. There is a scientist in America called Victor Stenger, who's produced a book called God, the Failed Hypothesis, who goes as far now as to say science can definitively say there isn't. But I think that's a very adventurous position. But the atheist view is there's absolutely no reason ever been advanced by another primate to believe that there is one. And when you've got that far, you really ought to say there isn't, it seems to me. Not that for that reason I'm not sure. And it's completely not on all fours with the other position, which is evidence has nothing to do with it. Faith is much more important. Not only should you have faith, but you'll be saved if you do. Now, that's not, I don't know. It's not, there might be. It's unless you do it like Pascal and say it's a vulgar bet, it's a wager, what have you got to lose? Which I think is morally creepy, as well as evidentially unsound. Because if some huckster comes to me and says, look, he may not be there, but if he is, you've got everything to gain by saying you believe in him, even if you don't really, I'll say, well, then I don't think much of your God, because if there is such a person, and I spend my life arguing that there isn't, and I do my best, when I check out, which I sure will, if I find that I'm mistaken and I'm confronted with the guy, I would hope he would be able to say, I at least admire your honesty. Okay, let's close on this, ladies and gentlemen. The Christians don't give their God that much credit. So doesn't that say something both about the fear base and the fact base and the moral base of what their faith really is? I submit that it really does, and thus that one is morally healthier as well as much more likely to be studying science and reason objectively if one puts religion behind one.
Ladies and gentlemen, save your applause because I'd just like to say thank you. We see Christopher Hitchens here probably once a decade or something along those